Hey gang, so I have an unhealthy relationship with Facebook Marketplace. On one hand, I've made a few $1,000s by buying and selling cars from there, and on the other hand, I just have a few cars sitting around that were quote-unquote good deals, but I just haven't gotten around to actually working on them. Today are two cars that I would say were kind of successes. On one hand, they were under $2,000, but on the other hand, they were more work than was worth putting into them to get them up to market value. More on that at the end of the video. Here we go. Oh, I have too many cars. Great success. Now that it's not raining, I can actually look over what this car looks like. Paint, of course, not the greatest. I think it is single stage, but that can always be buffed out and it can shine like brand new. So let's move on into the interior. Our exterior isn't terrible, I'll be honest, except there's this massive run. Like, yeah, I'm gonna have to do something about that before I sell it. But I should be able to sand it down and put one more layer of paint on top of that, and it should be good. I can just paint match it and get a spray can, so that should be fine. Nothing terrible. Lines, of course, you know, it's a freaking 30-year-old car or something like that. Interior has moisture. There are like little holes like this on both sides. I think I can patch those up well enough to where, you know, it's fine. And California, it's about to stop raining for the rest of the year basically. Interior, there was mold and he put a ton of baking soda inside, so it's not too terrible. This window regulator, it's a little how you doing, but you know, that can be fixed. I also have a parts car over there, so that works out pretty dang well. And so this interior, just like, I have a water vacuum, so I'll just, you know, water vacuum it, put in some carpets, clean it up, and that's probably it for the interior. Oh my goodness, there's some, yeah, no, there's orange peel all over the car. This trunk, it's also a little how you doing, but same thing. I have a different car that has slightly different color, but better than this. Trunk, terrible, you know, kind of rusted, but I think most of it can clean out. Here's the thing, I got this car for stupid cheap, so I don't really mind any of this stuff. This car, I bought it for $1,700. See, in the listing, he said it wasn't running. However, he said he just went on a trip for a couple months and he said that there was a clicking, so he thought the starter was bad. And I know from experience, that's not a bad starter, that's just a dead battery. So I came over and I tested it, and we'll see. I'll show you guys in a minute, unless, you know, battery died or something. All in here looks to be in order. I think this is an old radiator. I don't think they swapped it out. No, this might be swapped out, but 2 fans, that means AC. So that's great, especially in California. This is more important than being fully sealed. That's also a little how you doing. But besides that, it's just super dirty, you know, as Miatas tend to be. That's rusty because, you know, all these 1.6s leak. This cap is a little concerning. I'll probably buy a new cap. $1,700 for this car. Is it great? No, not in the slightest. Like, look at that. That's blue. That's not supposed to be like that. Is it terrible? We'll see. It's not pretty. Let's just say that. So if the battery didn't die in the freaking like 3 days while it was raining, or get, you know, shorted out. There we go. And I have no lights. Now let's see. I put the battery on a tender. I don't know if you can tell, but it's a bit later now, and now it's cloudy. But, you know, just after a bit of tweaking. So the car does run. Doesn't have any check engine light. It wasn't the battery, actually. They wired in a switch. I don't know why they wired in a switch, but I sent it back to the relay, the wire that it's supposed to go to. I hope that doesn't pop any fuses. We'll see if it does. It's super dark, so nothing much that I can show today. But I'm hoping to put it on ramps and take the diff off of this car. The bolts were close to seized. I put some WD-40 on them. I hope that'll loosen them up for today, and we're gonna try again. If not, oh well, I guess this will be a project for when the rain stops. Ooh, that does look a little blue, but then again, the engine is pointing down. I'm not making excuses, definitely. There's definitely noise right down there. Let's get off these ramps. Like I changed the differential. I don't know if that's evident. Ooh, that is smoke. Probably not the brightest idea while in a coal engine. I think that's coming from the cat, considering there is a massive leak. At least it's not visible. I don't know if what I was pointing out was it. Yeah, you can kind of see some smoke. I will drive this with the windows down. Ooh, there's no window regulator at all. I'll have to finesse that off of my parts car. Besides that, it looks like it's just about ready to go to the front, where I can clean the interior, grab some of the other little parts, like from that car. This thing done and sold. I just need to weld or get that cat situated right. Yeah, that has to be done. And figure out this wiring stuff and clean it up. And yeah, just don't mind this. Oh look, it's not blue anymore. That's good. It's also drooping down. I'm gonna have to fix that somehow. I'm taking a long, treacherous journey to my front yard, just so I can actually clean it up, because I don't like working in my backyard, because it's muddy, especially right now. Right? No cars. And it drives fine, honestly. Not really. Feels like everything's absolutely just bouncing around, but you know, kind of is an NA Miata, so nothing too surprising there. It's a little late, and lighting won't be good for any good videos, but this is basically after using this vacuum. I still have like a little bit more to do, like over there, and then this is how it was about originally. And then after this, I'm gonna water vacuum, wipe all of this down. It's just, there's not going to be any good quality videos, any good like time lapses or anything of this. So yeah, just showing you before, during, and then I'm going to show the after. So I'm here finishing this up, and this is my third round. This is the third round of washing. So I washed it with soap, and now I'm washing it with water just to get all the soap out of the carpet. And it looks pretty clean now, a lot better than it was before. So I've basically finished cleaning the interior. These spots are, they seem like melted down. These aren't anything. It's honestly pretty dry. Still has some like rust over there that I couldn't clean off. Carpet is clean. Interior is basically clean. This thing needs to get replaced or something like that. So I'm not really going to go too in depth in cleaning that. Replace the steering wheel. And that's just about it for cleaning for tonight. My battery on my phone and my headlight are almost dead, so that's a good place to like basically end off. I just want to put on some few trims, and then that's gonna call it a night. Now I figured out the issue with the exhaust. So all I had to do was I started the car while I was up in the air, and he said that it was a leaking cat, which I really didn't want, especially because there are like little rust spots on this car, because it was from like Vermont or something like that. But that's rusted. So I took a spare exhaust that I had. If you wanted to do cheaper, you could have just welded this or bought one for like 20 bucks, just because no one wants OEM ones. I got a aftermarket one that I don't think I'll ever use on one of my cars. All I have to do is buy the gasket, bolt it up, and then this car should be done, except for cleaning the exterior. I might fix these runs like these, and the other side's way worse, but I don't know if I can. Completely. This engine bay is just so dirty. I don't know how they got us so dirty, but I'm a little skeptical of cleaning it anymore, because this is after like rinsing it off and wiping it some parts down. But it's just, I don't have the brushes to get everywhere, and I really don't like using water in old engine bays, just because these wires are like so fragile, and like it can easily get in there, and then you can cause major problems just off something stupid. Also, I need to change out this headlight assembly thing, and also the headlights themselves are ugly, but I already have all of that laying around, and I might just post this car up like it is right now and see what I can get for it. Yeah, I got another one. My friend wanted to get into Miatas, and I found this one for super cheap. I'll say what it is later, but he wanted to get into Miatas, and we bought this one, even though it is in terrible condition. Like you can see, like everything is just cracked, stuff is popping out, paint is peeling, fenders are rolled, and just like in terrible condition. But we decided to buy it because, you know, it's an $1,800 Miata, and he ended up not having the ability to keep the car, so he asked me to just sell it. so I needed to make room. So I ended up selling that other one for $3,000, making myself like a $1,000 profit. So not terrible. Now I have this one. It is absolutely dirty. It doesn't even have a soft top. The interior is torn up and stuff like that. But it's an $1,800 Miata that runs and drives. I don't want to put a lot of work into it just because it's not worth it. Honestly, this car, it's not worth it to put in a ton of work just because of just how poor condition it is. It has some fun little things. It has the cooling rear out, which is pretty cool. It has headers. I don't even know if it has a cat. I think we checked and it had a cat, but that's still not going to pass smog. That seat is absolutely destroyed. Has super cheap wheels and tires, and registration is expired by like almost a year at this point. And this, so there are literally like no good things I can say about this car besides the fact that it's running and driving and seems like everything works. Now I'm just gonna clean this up. This is gonna be a really quick, just, you know, clean it up and just put it up for sale, and probably take a couple weeks to sell because of how just crap condition it is. But actually, the one good thing is it appears to have a legitimate racing beat body kit, which is kind of broken over there, which is pretty cool. Hopefully that adds at least some value. Now I'm just gonna clean the interior, put it in a different seat, clean the outside, and then probably call it a day. A lot of the times it's going to be the case that when you buy a cheap car, it's not going to be in the best condition. So cleaning it up as much as you can without trying to hide anything is usually the best way to go about it. I don't want to put too much time, effort, or money into this car just because I realized it wasn't going to be worth it. For both of these cars, I knew I could have done more, but in my opinion, that would have just been hiding the condition that it was in. In my mind, these cars were just going to be buckets, and that's okay because people want buckets and they're cheap. And they're sold cheap for that reason. So whereas I could have made a little more money from them, I wouldn't have felt right doing that just because there was so much stuff wrong all around the car. And if I were to fix all of it, I would not even break even. So I took my $1,000 from each car. I put in a couple hours by cleaning them or replacing the small little things that they had wrong with them and not putting too many hours into them, and still making, I feel like, a decent profit for the amount of work that I put into them. There are videos of people making thousands of dollars on each flip that they do. And in my experience, it's definitely possible. However, it's not going to be as common. You're always going to have ups, you're always going to have downs. I'd say that these two are somewhere in the middle. I still made a couple $1,000s, you know, cleaned them up, sold them, didn't take too much time into them, and I was happy with my profits. A lot of the times, what I've seen, what makes more money for flipping cars are big problems that have pretty easy solutions. One thing that I've done multiple times is I've fixed cars with bad head gaskets where they sell for a good amount under market value because it's something that a normal person isn't going to be fixing. However, if you're willing to take a little bit of time and learn how to do it and buy the tools, or if you have the tools to already do it, it's not the hardest job to do. And that can make you a good amount of money by doing those things. And still you're going to clean up the car and fix the little things around it, and then you can usually make a good profit off of doing that. However, these two cars just had a bunch of issues all around that made me realize they weren't going to be worth it to go in and do a full restoration because I would end up losing money. I'll do a breakdown of everything at the end of the video, so stay tuned. How much did I end up making from both these cars in the end? Let's go over it, but first, let me just preface it with this, that I had all these parts on hand, so what it ended up costing me versus what it might end up costing you is different. I'm going to put just the junkyard prices, what they sell for, or what you would buy for the parts in the junkyard after the parts that I replaced, so that you guys can get an idea of how much approximately it would cost for you to do it. For the first car, I bought it for $1,700 as a non-runner, and I replaced the battery and soldered those two wires. So to get a battery would be about $100, and then I replaced the trunk, which is about $50, and then I replaced the differential, which is about $100 because it's for a 1.6, and those are a lot cheaper than regular ones. I didn't really get any videos of that because it was done at night and in a window when it wasn't raining, because it was raining that one week that I was trying to work on the car. So that kind of sucked. Besides that, I added the window regulator as well as the center console, which the window regulator would go for about $50 and the center console is about $20. Then I cleaned up the car and then I ended up selling it. I ended up not taking care of the runs and the engine bay was still pretty dirty. I also found that there was a good amount of rust on the car because it was from Vermont. Well, good amount from as California. It wasn't that bad, but it was showing in some places. So I ended up selling the car for a good amount cheaper just because I'm not about to do rust repair on that car. And I showed the next buyer, so I only ended up selling that car for $2,500. While I still had this first car, I ended up buying the second one with a friend, and it needed a water pump as well as timing belts, but it came with those parts, and we got that one for $1,700. After replacing those parts, he drove it around for a little bit and realized it was a little too beat up for his liking, so he just had me take care of it and sell it. So I ended up adding seats and the turn signals, the lights, and that was about it, besides cleaning it up and posting it up for sale. It had all those extra little things onto it, which did add to the price. And it was still pretty bad as the quarter panel was messed up and everything like that. So I ended up selling it for $3,000. I ended up making $2,100, but if you would have had to buy all these parts, it would have ended up making $1,740, which is pretty good. It's nothing great because for the first one, I put in a good amount of work and did not get much returns. I ended up making $800 for replacing a differential and cleaning up the car and having it for a little bit, which is not bad, but still a lot of time was put into that car versus how much I made back on it. The second car was definitely a lot better of a deal. I ended up making $1,300 on it while only putting in, just time, effort, and the seats as well as the lights. So I had those. This was all done a few months ago, so the prices have definitely changed on the cars as well as how long it takes to sell. Right now, it's really hard to sell anything. So if you're looking to get into car flipping, watch out for that. It might not be as easy now as it was before, but it's still a viable thing. I'm still doing it on the side a little bit. If you guys want to see more car flipping stuff, let me know. I'm definitely down to do that. But right now I'm looking to get into a few projects, so watch out for those. Those should be coming up soon, and I hope to see you guys soon.